To bring to order the Township of Hamilton Committee meeting, Monday, June 17, 2019. Please stand for the flag salute.
Turn you around.
Just turn me around.
Okay.
I'm weak today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roger?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City on January the 10th, 2019, and the Atlantic County Record on January the 16th, 2019. Mr. Gishard?
Present?
Mr. Kurtz?
Present.
Mrs. Link? Mr. Silva?
Here.
Mayor Schenker?
Here. We have a moment of silence for private reflection. Thank you. Addition, deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have a deletion of the guest presentation from energy aggregation and a change to 5C. Public hearing date will be August 5th instead of July 1st.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
Second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Early public comment on agenda items excluding items listed for public hearings. Mike?
Sir, Mayor. First person on is Fred and Evan. 5C.
Fred?
I'll comment later.
During public comment?
Your choice is now.
Now or public comment?
Now.
Okay.
I want to just say you're going to be doing this resolution. As you know, what I'm asking for is very, very much. I don't have any sign changes. I have no driveway changes. I have no parking spot changes. I have no additional anything to change other than a use. And what's happened in our industry, we have to involve ourselves. I mean, as you know, things change. You need to, I have a lot of these cars that come in, they don't work any longer. I have to get rid of them. Some I could sell, some I could junk. But they're there already, so the cars are already there. And I just need a means to sell them and get rid of them. So this action helps me. I did try to go earlier, the regular route, but sometimes your systems don't always work. So I'm just asking so that we can get past this, and I ask for your consideration tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bruce Stry, 5C.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'll be brief because I know there will be a lot more discussion on this, but this is an amendment as it's advertised to the redevelopment and rebate ordinance that you passed some time ago. And this is, I guess it's calling an amendment. I think it's a rewrite because what it does, it contradicts the intent and purposes of the original redevelopment and abatement program that you promoted. Part of that agreement was, or the ordinance is that the current zoning ordinances would not be superseded by that ordinance. In other words, everything would go according to the planning board and zoning board appeals and procedures. So while I, and many others did, firmly supported your movement for the original ordinance, I can say with exact opposite, I'm totally against this because it does not support the premise that was presented to the public at our special meeting, that the current ordinances would not be upheld. So I would urge you to look at this very carefully and reject this. I know there'll be public hearings here and the planning board, so I'm very much opposed to this introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? That's it? Discussions, formal actions may be taken. A, Second Street Park, Block 809, Lot 6, settlement terms. Mike, could you give us a little background on that, please?
Yes, Mayor. This, reason I put this on here is because we agreed to accept this property at no cost to the township. It's all being done through grants from Green Acres and Atlantic County. And the Atlantic County, unfortunately, can only write their check to us. So we're going to have to write a check at settlement for the same amount that they're going to give us to close on the deal.
Pass-through.
So it's just a pass-through. It all happens the same day.
Okay,
But I didn't want you to see a check going out and think that we're spending $19,000. It's just a reimbursement.
okay,
So that's all there is to this. I don't need any action or anything. I just,
very good. Mr.
Explain that.
Solicitor, are you okay with this?
I am.
Thank you. Formal action can be taken if you so please.
Yeah, which,
I don't think any action needs to be taken.
yeah.
We can do it?
I don't need any action.
It's
Okay.
administrative.
All right. Never mind. Let's move on. Public hearings, adoption of ordinances. A, ordinance 1901, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the sale of Lot 31, Block 207, as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton, and granting the owner and owners of said real property contiguous to the same right of prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton. Little background, Mike?
This is 3.26 acres on Woodbury Road. The zoning is FA10, and the minimum bid is $1,600.
The bid's how much?
$1,600.
1,600? Is that the adjoining owner?
The joint owner have a right to first refusal,
would I like to move A?
Second.
Okay, hold on.
public hearing.
So I'd like to open this up to a public for public hearing. Anybody in the public like to speak?
Motion to close public portion?
Second.
A motion is second to close the public portion. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Would you humor me and do a roll call on this?
I would absolutely humor you.
Because we're conveying land.
Okay, that's fine. Do we have a motion to move the ordinance? Or adopt the ordinance,
Yeah.
excuse me. We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Any questions? Rita, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes,
All yes and carried.
thank you. B, ordinance 1902, 2019, an ordinance to vacate the following public street in the Township of Hamilton and to release and relinquish the public rights therein. A portion of Portland Avenue to Hickory Street between Block 865 and Lot 21.01, and Block 867, Lot 1, to Block 865, Lot 2102, and Block 65, Lot 2, on the tax map of the Hamilton Township. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the public like to speak?
Move to close the public portion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public portion. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, the ayes have it. C, ordinance 1903, 2019.
Got it.
No,
Don't you need to do a motion to
we need it. There was no.
Oh, I'm
motion.
sorry.
adopt the ordinance.
I'm sorry.
Make that motion to move it.
And I'll second it.
Motion and second to adopt the ordinance. Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Roll call vote, please. Rita, that's what I meant to say, Bob.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Okay, now C, ordinance 1903, 2009, an ordinance rescinding ordinance 1792, 2015, ordinance 1811, 2016, ordinance 1847, 2017, and implementing a new tax exemption and abatement program pursuant to the 5-year tax exemption abatement law. And as NJSA 40A21-1 for the entirety of the Township of Hamilton. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open it up to the public. Would anybody like to speak? Ms. Dix?
Eileen Dix, Park Road for the record. I guess just because I'm reading the agenda and I haven't followed the trail of ordinances, this is a little bit confusing. And I also didn't know you could speak on the night introduction to ordinances, so I didn't sign up in advance on the prior group.
Okay.
If that's the new rule, I will remember that for the future. On this situation in 4C, you're trying to rescind certain ordinances, but how do these 3 ordinances in 1903 compare to what is in 1906? How many redevelopment ordinances will we have township-wide? Is that, wait a minute, or is it
No.
one?
I'm going to have Mr. Malley answer that for you.
Hi, good evening. Jim Malley, Redevelopment Council for the Township. What this ordinance does is it deals with 5-year tax abatements.
I understand.
And exemptions. So there were prior ordinances that dealt with specific geographic areas in the township where the abatement programs were available. What this does is make a clean slate first, which is eliminate those prior ordinances, and then adopt an ordinance that covers everywhere in the township. And it provides an abatement program for every residential property in town, any improvements they do to a property, up to $25,000 of an increase in the assessed value can be abated. So that if you do an improvement to your property, you can delay the impact, the tax impact, for 5 years for up to $25,000 of the increase in assessed values. And then it also provides programs for improvements to multifamily housing, not new construction. Doesn't provide any incentive for new construction of any residential property, but it gives incentives for improvements to multifamily properties and new construction or improvements for commercial or industrial properties.
What are you calling multifamily? Are you talking
Apartment buildings, apartments.
Let me ask a question. Is multifamily condominium project? Is it fee simple townhouses that have a homeowners association? Or is it what you just said, an apartment complex, which we only have, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say we have 3, 4, maybe 4 in Hamilton Township?
They would all be covered under one section or the other
The
of the
apartments
ordinance.
or the townhouses and?
All of them, all of your examples would be covered under one section or the other for improvements to existing buildings.
All right, I think I got it, but then
Okay.
why is 1897 as shown in 5C? Why are we trying to amend 1897 if we're only going to have one ordinance? That means we're going to have more than one, or at least maybe I'm missing something, and that's very possible.
So I'm missing.
Look at 5C.
Yeah, we're not dealing with 5C.
No,
We're at
that's not my
4C.
question. That's not my question.
Well,
My
but
question
5C is a different ordinance.
I understand it, but it's proposing to amend 1897, which is in line 1 of 5C. If we're repealing and replacing all of the redevelopment ordinances, how can we still have 1897 sitting out there? Let me say it again.
You could, well, no, I
Okay.
understand it. They're totally different. They're not, we're dealing with ordinance 4C,
I understand.
and there's nothing in 4C that references 1897.
I agree.
So then, we don't have to discuss 1897 with respect to the ordinance on 1903 under 4C. It's got nothing to do with it. That's all.
Art, do you see my point? I don't
Yeah.
get it.
I do.
If we're only going to have one ordinance, it's going to be 1903.
The ordinance that we're doing now, 1903, is an ordinance that addresses tax
1790?
abatement, hang on, tax abatements within the township.
Okay.
The ordinance, the 1897 that you're referencing.
I see it. I see it.
Adopts a redevelopment plan.
Redevelopment plan and tax abatements are two separate things, and
Totally
that's the answer. Now I see it.
You
Okay.
got it.
Okay.
You can sit up there if you want.
Is it fair to say, if I may,
Sure.
that when we started out on this course, we started out with the industrial park, and we passed an abatement program for the industrial park. Later, that it was expanded to the historic district and then other districts, and it was done on a district-by-district basis. Now that we're contemplating the entire township to be a redevelopment area, there's no need to have those geographic ordinances in place. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, it is. So we have gone through a process where we've designated the entire township what's called an area in need of rehabilitation, which is, you know, it's done in a lot of towns, it's done all the time. And this simply is a step to make all the areas of the township be incentivized for certain types of development. You know, like I said, it's not new construction of any residential, it's improvements to existing, it's new construction or improvements to commercial or industrial buildings.
Thank you.
It's just a 5-year short-term incentive.
So humor me just for a second, and I think I can see where the confusion is here, is that we're dealing with the rehabilitation part of which is a separate ordinance. The redevelopment is another ordinance which takes this another step further. Am I correct?
Well, it is, but just to complicate this even further.
Good, go ahead.
That's why I'm here, I'm a lawyer, I'm here
Thank
for
you.
that. So the entire township has been designated as a rehabilitation area. But state law says that when we have that, we would then adopt a redevelopment plan, okay, which we've done. The redevelopment plan that we have adopted changes no zoning anywhere in the township. It incorporates all the underlying zoning. Okay? So when we address you have an introduction of an ordinance tonight, later, the ordinance in the section 5 on your agenda. And that is an ordinance to amend that township-wide redevelopment plan with respect to a specific property. So it's a totally different animal than the abatement ordinance that we're doing today. And you can do the abatement ordinance because the entirety of the town has been designated an area in need of rehab.
So does that mean that those prior ordinances, which are being rescinded here tonight, are not necessary?
Yes, they're no longer necessary. And it simply opens up the incentives instead of just having, you know, just because somebody's in this neighborhood as opposed to this neighborhood, doing the same project, it gives the incentive for wherever it's going to be.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public like to speak? Mr. Strye.
I understand what you're saying about we have several different abatements. We're just consolidating into one that covers everything. That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Now, moving ahead, because I just want to be clear, to 5C. Okay, now, was this part of the presentation you gave, I think, March 11th, where I think I asked the question, will any of the zoning, the procedures for zoning change? And I think the ordinance says, the first one, the original, said no current zoning laws and ordinances would be superseded. That was correct.
Do you want to go through this? Okay, all right. So, yes, that is correct. The plan that was adopted, just to keep everybody going with the same scorecard, that's ordinance 1897. That ordinance that adopted the township-wide plan.
Right.
Did not change any zone.
Okay, all right, okay, so far so good. Now, the amendment tonight, and again, not to jump too far in, but it is all related.
No, it's not related in any way to the exemption ordinance. The ordinance that we're having a public hearing on right now,
Right.
that other ordinance has nothing.
No,
to
I
do
understand
with
that.
it. Okay.
My question is, the amendment, okay,
Right.
will be to effectively overturn a prior zoning board denial to allow, in this particular case, used car sales on one particular lot in the township. How is that related?
How is that related?
Yes.
It is.
To the original the original ordinance that you talked about here at a special public hearing.
Part of the redevelopment plan and the abilities that a governing body has is they absolutely have the power and authority to make specific, could be a single lot, could be a block, could be whatever, make changes to the redevelopment plan.
I understand.
That they feel appropriate.
I understand.
So if they do that,
And I agree that by law. I have no
so-
question of that. My only point is, or question is, the original said, and what was made public to everybody, and we talked about here in this room, that the original ordinance would not supersede unless the township committee changes it,
right,
correct?
so the ordinance that we adopted did not change any zoning.
No, I know, I agree.
Now they're going to consider an
Changing.
ordinance that would change the
Okay.
zoning, which is
Okay, I understand.
perfectly permissible and allowed.
So
by
my
law.
understanding is correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
Perfectly allowed.
since you're here, I just wanted to
No
clarify.
problem.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public like to speak on 4C?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Adoption of the ordinance.
I'll move ordinance 1903-2019.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions? We have a roll call vote, Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes, adopted.
Thank you. Introduction of ordinances, public hearing to be held July 1st, and that only applies to A and B. Ordinance 1904, 2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 301, Article 1 of Chapter 301. Article 8 of Township Code to create no parking, stopping, or standing zone on Cantilia Boulevard and Oakwood Boulevard in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. Give a brief, Mike?
I do. A while back, our traffic safety officer recommended that we have parking on one side only throughout the industrial park. We've broken it into phases. This is the very first ordinance coming before you. It's on Cotillion, and it would eliminate parking on, stopping, standing, and parking on one side of Cotillion. The traffic engineer designed it. It went to the Industrial Commission. They made a couple changes and endorsed it. So
Okay.
now it's coming to you for a first reading of
The Industrial Commission suggested adding Oakwood Boulevard to the same ordinance.
That's fine.
All the way up?
The description is in,
Could you read it, please?
I don't have that file with me, but I don't know how far it goes up, but
Oakwood
there's a
runs up,
description.
This is just Cotillion.
There's Oakwood as
Oh,
well.
okay.
I believe it was in the ordinance because
It's right here, Bob.
Kevin Dixon gave us the description.
On Oakwood Boulevard, from Cotillion to Babcock Road.
There you go. Does that answer your question, Roger?
Yeah, and the other question is how the people in there are going to know that? Are we notifying them, or are we going to expect that they're going to watch the results of this meeting and just
There'll be
understand?
signage.
There'll be signs put up.
There will be signs put up, no parking?
Yes. Yeah.
Stopping or standing.
And they be able to, with all due respect to the police department, will it be enforced?
As much as humanly possible, given the size of our force, I would say yes.
I think the main concern here is a certain business out there was in question about having enough parking, and whether they do or not, the people that go there don't seem to want to use it. And there's a lot of parking in the streets, and there's plenty of parking in the lot. So maybe this will help curtail some of that, I don't know. You heard the ordinance? Motion to introduce?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
A motion and second to introduce 1904, 2019. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. 1904, 2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 301, Article 1 of Chapter 301. Ordinance 1904, 2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 301, Article 1 of Chapter 301. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. B, ordinance 1905, 2019, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property known as Block 809, Lot 6, in the Township of Hamilton, from Fred Boren for open space and recreation purposes with funding through the Great Egg Harbor Watershed Association, the NJDEP Green Acres Program, and the Atlantic County Open Space Trust. Mike, would you like to give a little background on that, please?
Yes, sir. This is the piece of ground that, or the property that we discussed earlier on Second Street. One of the requirements of the county's grant is that we do this by ordinance. We already did it by resolution, but they want us to do it by ordinance. So that's why this ordinance is in front of you.
Okay.
And Fred was here before the committee more than once to go explain this, I believe.
Yeah, and he'll be here for the public hearing on it.
Public hearing, too.
Want to move that one?
Yes.
All right, I move 5B, ordinance 1905-2019.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Ordinance 1906, 2019, an ordinance adopting an amendment to an ordinance 1897, 2019. The redevelopment plan for the entirety of the Township of Hamilton, a designated rehabilitation area with respect to the property identified as 979 Lot 5 on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton.
Mayor, if I could make a comment on this before
Sure.
we open it to the public. In my almost 6 years on Township Committee, I have heard past and present committee members ask how we can make our township more business-friendly. Well, one of the processes we went through was hiring Mr. Malley, who's sitting here tonight. His knowledge of planning, zoning, municipal land use, redevelopment, rehabilitation, and tax abatement have put us in a great position of doing some great things within our township. Some have already started to happen, in the hopes of making our township much more business-friendly, including making available a site-specific by lot and block amendment to an ordinance for a minor change or changes. That's what's before us tonight. For the public's information, Fred and Nancy Nebel came before the zoning board in July of 2012 for a very similar request to designate 5 existing parking spots in their lot for the sale of used cars with a for sale sign in the windshield only. No large sale signs, no increase in the number of parking spaces, no enlargement to the property footprint, no increase in staff, no changes in the hours of operation. The zoning application required 5 yes votes to pass. It got 4 and 1 no. The board was short 2 members that night. If those members would have been present, I believe the vote for this would have been 5-2, and it would have passed. Voting yes at that meeting was Ms. Valentino, the chairman of the zoning board, Mr. Choice, Ms. Lentz, and Mr. Tomasello. If introduced tonight, this still has to go back to the planning board and then to the committee in August for public comment and a vote. I just wanted to share that information with the public. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So while we're speaking on this, there's a few things that I was only made aware of this as of Thursday. In this amendment I'm looking at here, it says that the planning board adopted this a resolution recommending township, so we already did that. So that's what we did before. Is that correct? We adopted the resolution?
No, the ordinance is written as it would be for when you were voting to adopt it. So when you, if it's introduced this evening, then it goes to your planning board, and they review it and make any comments back to you. So it's written with
language in it that indicates what's happened in the process when you would adopt.
So this didn't happen yet?
No. So we're
No,
looking
what
at
is-
an
what is the
amendment that
plan?
has wording in it
relates
that
to the
hasn't
plan.
happened yet.
What this is saying is the plan amendment would be considered by them, and then if you're voting on second reading, the presumption is that they've recommended
They would be
back.
done before that.
If not, then we'll have to change that language.
Okay,
Which, by the way, would be a material change.
and that means,
And that means you may have to reintroduce depending on what the planning board says.
yeah, so I
We
feel like
can
we're
talk
getting
about
the
it.
cart before the horse here.
Yeah, let's wait and see what that is, because even if a planning board recommends against a change to the redevelopment plan, the governing body can still adopt that change. It just needs to do it by a supermajority, and it needs to say, put the reasons on the record why they're going against what the planning board's recommendations were. Okay?
Okay,
Procedurally, to get it to the planning board, it has to be introduced here.
Yes.
so we'd start this all over again.
Well, you start the process, if the vote is in favor of it, then the next step is it goes to the planning board, depending on what they recommend, it comes back here. If they recommend against it, that sets forth a process, as Mr. Malley has explained, where you have to have a supermajority, and where you have to set forth on the record the basis. It's a higher burden, it's a higher step. If they recommend in favor, this ordinance is written in anticipation of that.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to be clear on that, because I saw wording in here that just didn't make any sense to me. Personally, I'm a stickler for doing things the way they're supposed to be done, and I know nothing against you. You guys, you're great people and everything, but you went to the zoning board, and the zoning board denied it. No matter what the score was, it really doesn't matter. You had an opportunity to appeal that, and that appeal goes to Superior Court, Bob? Am I correct?
I think so, under our ordinance, we no longer.
Because in 2009, we,
You abrogated
not
that.
me, but Township Committee removed themselves from that process
There are many places where
when we did
that
that.
happens, but not here.
for a reason.
That was over Pucci's property, I think.
Well, yeah, I don't really know what the reason is, but that's the way it's written. So now, we're going to take this ordinance and change it, because this obviously wasn't in the original ordinance, Jim?
No.
The ability to do this, and that's kind of what I thought. This ordinance was basically to give people tax relief, to give businesses tax relief, to bring them in, not to change or lift zoning decisions, correct?
Well, you have the governing body has the authority to make changes in redevelopment.
We have the authority to make changes in any ordinance we want.
Yes. You can
Okay, so
change
that's
the-
a broad stroke.
You can change the zoning under the redevelopment plan.
Okay,
Which you could not otherwise do,
exactly.
because you don't have the authority to grant a use variance. Once the redevelopment plan has been adopted, that readjusts your authority to do things that normally would have been done by the zoning board.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I
Well,
think we have a zoning board and a planning board for a reason, and these decisions should go to them and stay with them. And I don't understand how this now supersedes the ordinance that says that an appeal goes, because that's what this is. This is an appeal. It says it goes to Superior Court, not to us. There was a reason why we stopped doing that, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't a good one. Again, I don't know what it was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't just because we wanted to.
We felt it was better to leave it up to the courts to determine, rather than have 5 members of committee sitting and making that decision.
And I don't disagree with that, because this is where politics gets involved, and this is where things get a little clouded. For that reason, I'm not in favor of this. I just don't understand why we have to go to these lengths, and once we do this one time with this new ordinance that we just passed, we're never going to stop. It sets a precedent. And I can go into other things about, the fact that there's another ordinance in this town that says you can't sell used cars unless you have a new car lot to go along with it. And that's not the case here. So we're going outside of what Township Committee's duties are, in my opinion. And we're just going to go ahead and change this. To be honest with you, if you want to change the used car lot ordinance, then change the used car lot ordinance. Do it for the whole town. I don't agree with what this ordinance stands for.
Bobby, if this goes up to the planning board, right?
If
What-
three
what-
of you
Introduce it.
affirmatively vote to introduce it, it gets remanded to the planning board. They send their comments back to you. It depends on what that comments are, because you can either reject them, accept them in whole or in part. And if that's deemed to be substantial, that changes the process. If the planning board recommends approval, and you have already voted, three of you tonight to approve it, then it goes to a public hearing for the adoption of the ordinance. I understand what you're saying, Art, but in normal zoning law, you're 100% correct. And Jim, you're the expert, not me, that's why you're here. But once you do an area in need of redevelopment and you adopt a plan, it does in certain ways usurp some of the use variance process of the zoning board, does it not?
Well, it gives the governing body the ability to take action that it believes is in the best interest of the town.
Whether your zoning board voted it down or not.
Yeah, it does. And it's still but it's still subject to, it does not give you the authority to do site plan reviews. Like there's still, it doesn't take away all of the authority of the board. It simply takes listen, you could change, and I have no dog in this fight, okay? This is purely a policy decision, okay?
Yes.
But you also have the authority, I'm not even familiar with where this property is, but you have the authority to change the zoning in an area as you deem fit. Forget redevelopment, just change the zoning, okay? So you have the authority to do that. Sometimes that happens in response to decisions from boards that a governing body's not happy with, so they change the zoning. And that way it makes sure that within that area, certain types of businesses or activity or whatever can be done. So it's not, it can be done. I understand that the circumstances of this, that there was they've already been through a process in the board, but it's not something that is, so far out of left field. You have the authority, it's purely a policy issue, at least in my mind, as to whether or not, you choose to move forward. That's all.
Okay.
Well, I can say that as far as looking at applications coming into both planning and I'm sure zoning, one size doesn't fit all. I hate to see people and residents grouped together with Walmart and the Benderson project where they have deep pockets to the mom and pop shop that's only asking for 5 spots in the front of their property so that they can continue business in this township. That's the idea of being business friendly, and this gives us the vehicle to do that. And as you said, there's backup on this where it has to go before planning and then back to committee. So I think introducing this is proper, to introduce this tonight, and then follow the rest of the plan the way that it takes us. That's what I think needs to be done.
I don't think there's a motion on the floor.
There isn't.
I'll make a motion,
Second it.
I'll make a motion to introduce this ordinance.
I'll second it.
There a motion and second? Are there any questions? Rita, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Gishard.
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
I had a chance to review the minutes extensively from the zoning board and the comments of the members who voted in favor of it. And the fact that there were only 5 members there that night, I know it wasn't Mr. Nebel's fault. Chances are, as I think Committeeman Kurtz said before, that if the other 2 were there, it in all probability would have passed. I think the comments were very positive from the members, and I see that there's a course going here where this will go to the planning board. It's not for political reasons. It has nothing to do with politics. It's just judgment that maybe differ from the people who differ from the way I'm voting. I vote yes.
Mayor Shanker.
I'm voting no simply because I support the decisions of the zoning board and the planning board. We have people that sit on these boards all night long, some nights, and they come up with these decisions, and, you know, whether it's a majority vote or a minority vote, it doesn't matter. It's their decision. For us to get involved with this, I think is just starting a bad precedent, but that's just my opinion. No.
3 yes, 1 no. The ordinance is introduced. Public hearing set for August the 5th.
Thank you.
So that everybody in the public understands, the agenda says that the public hearings will be held July 1,
When was the public hearing, clerk?
but we had the announcement from the clerk
August
that this
5th.
particular one will be August 5th.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
changed August 5th, yeah.
Number 6, awards, bids, contracts, change orders. A, resolution authorizing the purchase of 5 WatchGuard 4RE mobile radio recorders from WatchGuard under state contract T0106, not to exceed $28,240.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, the ayes have it.
Hold on,
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
you're purchasing,
You
you're
wanna-
spending money here.
You want a roll call?
I do.
Rita, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor
Yes,
All yes and carried.
thank you. B, resolution authorizing the purchase of 4 Chevrolet Tahoes from Day Auto under Cranford Cooperative Contract for number 47 CPCPS. Cost not to exceed $153,433.68.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution authorizing the upfitting for 4 Chevrolet Tahoes by Major Police Supply under State Contract 17 Fleet 00760, not to exceed $52,331.48.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those, or excuse me, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution D, resolution to approve purchase of Hustler Vanguard Big Block EFI 104-inch RD wing mower from Farm Right Incorporated, not to exceed $22,749.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution authorizing a proposal of the surveying, engineering, construction management services for the 2019 road reconstruction program with Steve Filippone of the EDA, not to exceed $55,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Are there any questions? Rita, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through K.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. 8, personnel. Resolution to appoint Lisa Marcolongo to the Township of Hamilton Municipal Alliance Coordinator effective 7/1/19 to 6/30/2020 at $2,000 annually to be paid quarterly from 2019 to 2020 Municipal Alliance grant as it recommended by the Municipal Alliance Chair.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Need a roll call for that, Bob?
We do.
Give me a roll call, please, Frida.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution authorizing change in employment status for Charles Wilbert from temporary full-time laborer to regular full-time truck driver laborer at $34,287.66 annually, effective June 18, 19. Must obtain CDL A, within 1 year as a condition of continued employment as per Article 25 of the collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Rita, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution to hire Vernon Birch as a regular, full-time truck driver / laborer one at $34,287.66 annually, effective 7/1/19. Contingent on completion, successful completion of background check, employment, physical, drug screening. Must obtain CLD within 1 year of condition of continued employment as per Article 25 of the collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution to hire Samantha Leapy as a temporary full-time laborer at $16 per hour, effective 6/24/19, not to exceed 11 months in duration, employment contingent upon successful completion of background check and employment, physical, and drug screening.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Rita, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
E, resolutions appointing municipal alliance members for the term of 7/1/19 to 6/30/2020.
So moved.
A motion, we have a second.
second,
We have, are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
All those opposed, the ayes have it. F, resolution to reappoint Warren DeGrossa as building subcode official to 4-year term effective 8/31/19 to 8/31/2003.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
All those opposed, the ayes have it. G, resolution to hire Abigail Thompson as a lifeguard for the 2019 Cove season, $11 per hour, effective date to be determined. Employment contingent upon completion of employment, physical, drug screen.
So moved.
second,
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, could you give me a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
H, resolution to increase Tony Lucian's hourly rate, temporary full-time laborer, from $15.30 per hour to $16 per hour, effective 6/18/19.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Number 9, approvals. A, minutes to the regular meeting, June 3rd, 2019.
so moved,
Second.
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. B, minutes executive session meeting, June 3rd, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, Rita, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes,
All yes and carried.
thank you. C, payroll and bills. Bills totaling $781,877.96.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Are there any questions? Rita, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Mr. Administrator, your report?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Solicitor?
Just to tell you that at the last meeting, I was authorized and directed to place Travelers Insurance Company, the bonding company for Victoria Point, on notice of defaults under the maintenance bonds. I've done so. They've engaged counsel. I've been talking to counsel. I've been talking to our engineer. I'm going to have something to report back probably at the next meeting, although it may end up in executive session, but we're trying to work with those folks. The process that you authorized me to do has been done, it's been taken, and we're on the road.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the solicitor? Moving on, Mr. Engineer.
Yeah, Mayor and Committee, I have a number of items. The first is on my list of June 17th is the municipal generator, which is right outside in the parking lot. I'm still working on a meeting between Janney Electric and Cummins Diesel to resolve that epoxy that is sort of flaking off there, and I'm continuing to work on that. The second item I have is the Verizon streetscape plan. I submitted a copy of the bench detail. It's a Victorian bench detail. I submitted it last week to the HPC, and they approved that detail, so we continue to move forward with that project. Tavistock, that's on my list. The fencing was done 2 weeks ago, fencing on the 5 basins. In the past 2 weeks, they completed sidewalk. There were 7 sections of sidewalk that were completed, and they've started on the reconstruction of the intersection where the community center is, that the Belgian block is installed, and over the next 2 weeks, they hope to do major reconstruction of that intersection. And then the last part of that project is the paving of all the stabilized base roads throughout that project. So we're probably looking at about 4 weeks to complete that project, but it's moving along pretty nicely. On the construction projects, I just want to mention Outback Steakhouse. They started their final paving today. They didn't complete it. They hope to finish it tomorrow. They'll probably have their opening next Thursday is what they're telling us. You know, it's been a long process, but they're forging ahead, and they're going to complete that project, I'm sure. 2018 road program, last week we completed McKee Avenue. We had reconstruction of McKee Avenue. We did some widening out by AutoZone. We increased the width of the turn lane about 4 feet at McKee Avenue and Black Horse Pike. The striping of that road will occur tomorrow. Zone striping is going to start tomorrow on New York Avenue. We've been waiting for that process for a while, but tomorrow zone striping is going to remove and relocate the striping on New York Avenue. Then they're going to move over to McKee Avenue and do the striping. That's part of our contract. And then they're finally going to get over to Babcock Road and do the stop bar on Babcock and Mays Landing Summers Point Road. The last part of our contract with the 2018 road program is going to be Pennington, and we're expected to begin that work in about a week from now.
Very good.
I listed in my report Old Egg Harbor Road County Bridge replacement. There was mentioned 2 weeks ago at a meeting with the county that they were planning on starting on July 1st. After that meeting, I contacted the MLAA because I know they have a tournament that time of year, and I was told that tournament runs to the last week in June through the first week of July. So I contacted Doug DeMayo, and he was agreeable to push their start date back to July 8th. So we're not going to have a condition where we have a bridge that's closed for 6 to 8 weeks on Old Egg Harbor Road, where we have quite a few people traveling from out of town trying, you know, that need to go around a detour and get lost and show up late for a baseball game. So the county was very agreeable to push their start date back by 1 week, which was very accommodating. And my last item is just a lot of street opening permits have been signed off in the last couple of weeks. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No questions? We'll move to Township Committee members. John?
I just want to step back a minute and talk about what comments that were made on 5C. I've been a planning board member for a lot of years now. I think we have one of the best planning boards, if not in the state, definitely in our entire county. Great members and a lot of respect for the way we hold the applicant's feet to the fire on things that have to happen. But also, we've found it necessary at times to address the fact that not all applicants have the same means as some of the bigger applications we see that come before us, without naming any. And I think we all look for a way to help that applicant out, and this ordinance does that. It takes away the reason to have to come before the planning board or zoning and getting professionals and everything involved with the monies, and also saves the township monies with professionals to take a minor decision like that and let it be made at committee with the backup that it still has to go to planning or back to committee for a final vote and public comment. So it's just, I just don't understand how we can hire a gentleman like Mr. Malley to come up with a way to help save our residents and take the burden off the planning board, and then turn around and not approve some of the ideas that he comes up with. This application is an independent, small business operator who needs some relief, and I think this was an opportunity for us to seize on that and make it happen. At a meeting in the administrator's office, Mr. Malley, we had a discussion on this actual item. And in order to sort of oversimplify it, and it is oversimplified, he said, think of an application like Benderson or the Coptic Church or any other large application that comes before the planning board or zoning board. And you need the possibility of having that looked at really, really closely. We take an important step in making sure that the people who come before the board are treated fairly. And I think what we've done here with this ordinance is help further that along. And in no way, as long as I've been on the planning board, and I think the planning board members know me, I would never vote on anything that circumvented the planning board or the zoning board, only on things that would be beneficial to the applicant if it can be handled on such a small item at the committee level. Mr. Malley's point at the meeting was, if there was an application that was large and it had 59 manhole covers, and 2 weeks after the approval, they needed 60 manhole covers, would we bring them back in for professionals before the board to add one manhole? No, we'd take this new ordinance and we'd utilize it, and it would go before committee who could make that decision, save the professionals, and then it would go to, if necessary, go back to planning or to the committee for a vote. I think that's the way that it should be handled, and that's why I voted the way I did tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Roger?
Michael, in reading the Special Projects Manager's report, Sustainable New Jersey, maybe you can clarify this for me. Adopt a Storm Drain program has Girl Scouts cleaning the tops of drains downtown and providing inspection information to the Public Works Department for maintenance. They don't actually get out in the street and clean them, do they? I think it's a little bit dangerous to ask them when we have the equipment to do it. And also cleaning off the tops, I think our Public Works people should do it because they have the necessary means to hold traffic so nobody would come by and create a problem for these young people, even though I respect what they want to do.
Okay. I will look into it and report back.
The other thing, and I don't know how many of you sitting here saw the problem that the trash collection created last week. I mean, there's still a lot out there, Mike, in terms of picking up the bulk, and I know you know it, and I noticed you assessed them for liquidated damage in the amount of $1,650. Maybe also you can find out is, do they have enough equipment to handle the job? You know, in my particular case, they threw half of my garbage in the street, and I think it was because the truck didn't have the mechanical arm coming out, the hydraulic arm. Normally it dumps up top. These were individuals on the back, and I'm not here to criticize their work because that's a tough job. But when it came down, it threw everything on the street and just stayed there. So obviously I think what we have to do is be very careful with that. The other thing, I received a number of complaints on Lake Harbor Avenue by Underhill with the amount of traffic coming through there, big tractor trailers. And I think we mentioned the big tour buses coming through. Now, isn't that street posted?
It is.
We've got a maybe, while the street is down, while they're doing this bridge that Steve's talking about, and I know the one well, for 6 to 8 weeks, we can have the electronic sign reminding people, or maybe after it's open, that there's no heavy truck traffic permitted through here. That alone is a big problem, just congesting 40. And when the Cotton Mill Bridge does go down, that's going to exacerbate that situation, because we're going to have our hands full with that. So I think at that point, those are things that I know it's going to put a little bit of strain on the police department, in fact, a lot of strain. Is there any way we can, while we're doing that work for the, with the Cotton Mill Bridge down, does the county provide any traffic control mechanisms, like Sheriff's Department or anybody? Steve? Mike?
At the meeting, Wade was going to reach out to the state about setting the timing on the lights.
What?
Wade, our traffic officer, was going to reach out to the state about increasing the green times on the traffic lights so that the traffic wouldn't back up as far. But I don't believe they offered, they'll be using our officers if they require police officers, but I don't think they offered sheriffs.
Well, the other thing, they still haven't gotten the approval to go out to bid yet, right, Steve?
They have not gotten the approval yet.
So the DOT still has its looking at the plans and whatnot?
Yes.
Once that's given, then they have to go out to bid?
Then it goes out to bid.
And what do you think the bid time on that's going to be, 6 weeks?
6 or 8 weeks.
And then obviously, if the numbers come into something that will not escalate what their estimate is at this point,
I will stay very close with the county and report every meeting thus forward to our committee where this stands. They have to get the state approval, then it'll go out to bid. When the bids come in, if it comes in higher than the engineer's estimate, that's a process in itself. I will report every committee meeting where the county stands. I will stay very close to this.
and then the other thing that I think, and I know we've had other people there from when you were at the meeting and we talked about it, is the driving, the steel sheets down, the piles. It's going to cause a lot of noise and vibrations in the area. And a lot of the old foundations there, I think they're concerned about it. Will they be monitoring that also?
They will. They're going to put sensors on all the residential houses in the area. And I asked at that meeting if they could share those results with us, and they said they would.
Okay. Thanks, Mayor.
Rodney?
Just a question, when you say they're gonna have sensors, is there an acceptable limit?
There is.
Okay. I don't have anything today except to point out that this beautiful weather, if you look at the VFW Post 220, you'll see the landscaping
Oh,
that
yeah,
the
so
Boy
the
Scouts
Did a
did.
nice job.
Nice
They
job.
did a nice job, yeah.
Excellent. And with your new electronic sign there,
Yes,
that's great.
yes.
Very good. Anything else? My only comment is, John, I don't know why you're getting so upset about this. The motion passed.
I understand.
So my point to this is, and I've witnessed this in town hall on other matters, when you start to open up, doing things differently the way that you did them all the time, you are setting yourself up. My decision has nothing to do with the Nevels. My decision has to do with the next folks that come through the door, or the folks after that. And they're all going to start coming right here. That's what this does. This opens up the door for everybody to say, you know what, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm coming here. And that's a bad place to be. That's not what this ordinance was intended for. We don't have to use it for that, but it looks like that's what we're going to do. I want to open this up to public comment. Ms. Dix?
Colleen Dix, Park Road. I'm here for a specific reason, and it's an interesting segue to what I've witnessed tonight is segueing right off of why I'm here. I'm going to assume you've all read Rooming Houses No More, AC Residences Transforming. I've been on the phone with Trenton and again today on the phone. For your information, by the way, Atlantic City Zoning and CRDA are closing down rooming houses. In Atlantic County, this is off the DCA website, 78 licensed rooming and boarding houses exist in Atlantic County. Of those 78, they are housed in 9 towns. 1 in Absecon. I'm not giving you the whole list. I have a purpose. 1 in Epsecan, 2 in Galloway, 2 in Egg Harbor City, 2 in Hamilton, 4 in Mullica, 3 in Pleasantville. Of the Mullica Township ones, 1 has 4 units. They're licensed for five people. 1 has 6 units licensed for 12. 1 is unclear, they left it blank on the state inspection where I extracted this information this morning. The license is for 15, it has 6 bedrooms. The 4th one is 14 units for a total of 20 people. In Egg Harbor City, 5 units for 9, 7 units for 16. My point is, these are small buildings. Now I'm going to have to pick on Mr. Sandman because I'm well familiar with the house he lives in. He has a 5-bedroom house. He has 3.5 bathrooms in it. What if Mr. Sandman decided that he wanted to make his house a rooming and boarding house, and he wanted to get a license? See, I'm picking on you because you're sitting right there watching me.
My kids have already done that.
That's fine. That's fine.
What do you get for a room nowadays?
With your consent. So the state, in my conversation on the phone, is the first step is the host community's action. The host community is either going to make a zoning board decision or it's going to do a certificate of continuing use, a zoning permit. This specific one is dated May 7, 2015, and 18 months later, we found out we had a methadone clinic that never went to the zoning board, never went to the planning board, never went for a site plan amendment, which is part of the reason you're introducing an ordinance here tonight, which I did not know about until I got here. What I want, on behalf of all the people of this town, is that the institutional knowledge drained out of this building over the last 5 years is shocking. I don't know that there's anybody today on staff as an employee qualified to sign one of these, that if another one like this went out of here and went to Trenton, we could have more boarding houses suddenly appearing, and that's not a good idea. These things are through Department of Community Affairs, has nothing to do with Health and Human Services or any of the other protected classes of citizens in America. So that's very clear. I'm making it perfectly clear. So I'm not picking on somebody, as you might like to think. Now let's switch into the segue to this business of I didn't bring the agenda. It's 5C or whatever it is. It's the one where the man stood here and said, this will not override the past zoning board decisions. So I already whispered with Bruce, and he's behind me, so he knows I'm going to say this. Use variances in this town have had a way of being forgotten that they're a use variance. They don't belong where they are. Whether it's a single-family home that was converted to a professional office, I won't say more than that, except that I was directly involved, so I know the details. The public records are history. They're gone. Decision and resolution is available. The minutes are not. The site plan is not. The one regarding that I commented on, Bruce, is the dollar store that's was approved as a use variance in a residential zone. I don't think it's started yet. But there were clear restrictions put on the use variance regarding certain things, including no ice machine plugged into the outside, et cetera, et cetera. Well, with what I heard here tonight, and I might be a little bit rusty, but I haven't forgotten things. I haven't forgotten everything. Who's to say that somebody with one of these other use variances, and there are more than I want to reveal right now because of all the other research I've been working on, who's to say that those use variance holders won't come back here and say, oh, well, we'd like an amendment to your redevelopment plan because maybe I could make more money if I could sell bags of ice or I could sell the tanks of propane that you specifically denied. I think you've opened a Pandora's box with this, all because of one specific situation. It's very dangerous, And as far as the 4-to-1 vote, or whatever that vote was that was read into the minutes a little while ago, I probably attended that meeting because I've attended so many zoning board meetings in 25 years I've lost count. And every time there's only 5 members present, the applicant is specifically told, we only have 5 members, you need 5 to continue. Do you want to continue? It's up to you. And if you proceed, that's the decision. Anybody in that situation could say, okay, I want to postpone and come back at another time. And that didn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, Dan. Jim, you'll be next.
Dan Snodgrass. Actually, you guys know I wear many hats in this town, but I'm actually going to speak as the president of the Mays Landing Merchants Association. I've only lived in this township 15 years. I've only been president for the last 6 months, but I've seen a lot of things throughout the time that I've been here. I want to commend the committee tonight for taking a leadership role. And that leadership role is actually passing the ordinance. We are getting left behind by Egg Harbor Township, Galloway Township, and even Egg Harbor City when it comes to being pro-business. I travel the county and I travel South Jersey. I'm a member of the Southern New Jersey Development Council. I'm a part of the Economic Development Committee on the Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce. And Hamilton Township does not have a good reputation when it comes to business friendly. We need to change that. I'm glad that you guys made the decision to pass the ordinance. I don't think of much as a Pandora's box with other things. I think what you're doing is setting a precedent and showing leadership. You put the people on the planning and the zoning boards. They look to you for leadership. I think you've taken a great role today, or a great step today, in showing that leadership, not only to the citizens of this town and the businesses of this town, but also to other investors and businesses who wish to come into this town. We have multiple businesses that are looking to invest in this town. I'm not going to speak to some of the issues that have been going on with that, especially when it comes to a cornerstone business here in this town that a person would like to spend money, invest, and hire more people. We need to show that leadership. You need to continue to show that leadership. And the businesses in town are watching and making sure that our voices are heard, so that way business does get better in Hamilton Township. Thank you.
Dan, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a comment.
Please.
Egg Harbor Township and Galloway are moving away from used car lots now.
I don't
Changing
want,
their ordinances to do away with them. They don't want them in their town anymore.
it's not
already have
necessarily
this
specific
ordinance in place.
to used cars. That's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is
That's
that,
what I'm saying.
oh, and that's fine. Listen, used car dealerships, whatever you want. But what I'm saying is that you were able to show leadership tonight and say to a business that you can adjust and we will adjust with you in the business world. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's specific to used cars. I think you're showing the businesses in this town that you're willing to listen to them and understand that they are a business and that's their livelihood, and you're willing to work with them to make sure that not only do they stay in Hamilton Township, but also show the precedent that other businesses will come to Hamilton Township.
Thanks, Dan. Jim?
It's, where's 979 Block 5 at? 979 Lot 5.
979, lot 5, where is it? I don't know.
Neville's.
I have no idea.
It's Neville.
That's Neville's.
It's Neville's you talking about?
Neville's.
Because on Laurel Street, I'm 949, Lot 17. So I was just wondering, it's off by 30 there. Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Bruce?
You know, I've had the privilege and honor to serve on where you sit, Mr. Mayor, Township Committee, the Zoning Board, the Planning Board, and I've enjoyed volunteering. In my experience, the Planning Board and the Zoning Board, I've never, ever witnessed politics on those boards. We are qualified professionals. They present their arguments. The applicants present their arguments, and the decisions are made based on that. There's no politics ever that I've witnessed. What this township committee did tonight was take those non-political decisions and put them right square in the political arena. Anyone who disagrees, now, I want to just touch on what Mrs. Dix said with reference to what Mr. Silva said about a 4-to-5 vote. Ms. Dix made a very good point. Anytime at a zoning board, and there are less than 7 members, the applicant, particularly when there's 5, in my experience, the chairwoman or chairman always says to the applicant, you have 5, you're required 5 votes, that's all you have tonight, take your chances. If you want to wait until there's 7, we'll wait, it's your opportunity. And I'm sure in this particular case, that was waived, there was a vote, and the vote was what it was, it lost, it went down in defeat. Several years later, here we are. This thing about business friendly, and just because you're a small business, all of this has to go out the window, it's waived, you don't have to provide proofs, you don't have to have professionals come and testify. That's a bunch of garbage. You've actually lowered the bar, you're demeaning the role of volunteers, of zoning board members and planning board members. And that's the only thing that I will agree with Mr. Kurtz. They're an excellent group of people. And this is a real travesty. And Mr. Schenker, you're right, okay? Now that they're going to line up because they didn't like the vote, even if it's a decade ago, if there are some conditions that the zoning board or planning board set before the applicant, and they agreed to, many years later, if you don't like them, let's go to township. Let's find a friend on township committee. Let's find a friend. Let's find a politician on township committee that can introduce an amendment to override the planning board and the zoning board. And I could go on, and you guys got it wrong. And I've been here 65 years, Mr. Snodgrass, okay? You're a puppy here at 15, and what you said is wrong.
Bruce, please address the chair.
Thank you. I couldn't help that.
That's all right.
I apologize. So you guys are dead wrong, and this whole idea of finding friends on township committee to get the planning board and zoning board to overturn, I'm sorry, you're on the wrong path.
Anybody in the public? Mr. Neville?
Fred Neville, Neville's Auto, and about this 5C. All right, I just want to clear one thing up about zoning. I did go to zoning first time. I went with my attorney, my engineer, and I went with my $3,000 worth of people. Showed up the first time, 5 people. Went again, second time, 5 people. Now I'm in for $6,000 already, and 5 people are not showing up. Now, this wasn't the first time this happened to me. This is now the 3rd time it happened to me. When I built the building the first time around, I went 3 times before I got 7 people on the board. 3 times, a tune of $12,000, because at that time, I had 2 engineers and I had environmentalists. $12,000 before I could step in. I went back, I got my approval on 5 people, and they gave me all yeses, thank God. But that was the 3rd time I had to be here spending $12,000. The second time I came in here amending some parking spaces that I were having problems people parking, and I just wanted to amend that, and I had a shed that I wanted to put in, so I went back to the zoning. It took me 2 times to have that done. Thank God I didn't have a lawyer at that time. It was very minimal cost. 2 times before I had 6 people, never 7. This time around, I go in there, I had 3, 4, 5 people 2 times in a row. Then I go and I look at the people and I say, well, what am I going to do? Spend another $3,000 or $4,000 coming? So I did take my chances. Now, we had one guy up there, I'm not going to say names, but one guy worked for me. He shouldn't have even been up there in the first place. But I actually asked all those members who did not show up to give me a result, a yes or no result by they could come in and they can, am I correct? My attorney, Bruce, one of them, John Sessionelli, another one, 2 alternatives. I got letters in the mail saying, hey, review this case, give me your opinion, and if I would have had those people review that case and say, no, 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 I would have respected that. I did go back to try to appeal that. Unfortunately, a not real good lawyer had me a day late, 1 day late. So I was going to come back here to appeal it, saying that the county told me that I could appeal that. I could have you guys say, hey, just go do it all over again and try it again. This time you can try it again. That's that you give me permission to do that and go through it all over again. Now, I was considering to do that. So, this is the things that I went through, and this is why things have to be changed sometimes. But I did go through all that. I did spend my money. But this is what your system has failed me. Your system failed me too many times with too much cash. That's all I got to clear that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Mayor?
John Percy from Laurel Street. You're talking about doing some striping. Why not consider doing some striping on Volunteer Way? It's deteriorated. That's just one example. Holly Street's another example. So maybe you want to consider an overall striping program, because a lot of the striping essentially is disappearing. So while you're going to be doing several streets, why not do more than just a couple? And Volunteer Way is one that is in an area where you have a brand-new roadway system, and it would look really, really nice if you got it done. But there are outlying areas, and I'm just using Holly Street as an example because they're right next to it. That's an example. It's all faded, so it doesn't really give the opportunity for the drivers to realize where they are in the striping program.
If I could answer that. Tonight, the committee authorized a contract for me to begin the 2019 road program. Part of that road program is for striping. So, some of the streets you just mentioned were identified by Wade Smith about a month ago. When I asked him, could you give me a list of any of the streets, in his opinion, that need striping, I went to Brett Knoll. So some of the streets you just mentioned, there was about 5 streets. So what we're going to do is part of my bid package is going to be a unit price for line striping.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Mike?
Look, I am,
Mike?
Sorry.
Name and address, please.
My question is this, and I just want to...
Mike, I need your name and address.
Oh, I apologize.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Doherty. I'm at 913 Morningside Drive. I'm the owner of Blunt Force Consulting. I'm here as a business owner, not as the vice president of the Mays Landing Merchants Association. My question is, with the understanding of the process that the ordinance that was just voted 3-1 is, there is a procedure. It wasn't blanketly approved right now. It still has to go back to the zoning committee for approval.
Well, no,
on
it
their
goes
notes.
back to the planning board.
The planning board. That same planning board then has to make approval or give notes before,
I believe it's a recommendation they give us, then that's the next step.
Okay. So they're at least getting a chance to look at everything and review everything from their perspective, with now a 7 years difference point of view from the initial vote to see if this is even a viable or worthwhile to review, correct?
Okay, you're not wrong, but you're not right. So
That's why I'm asking the
The original
question.
board that said no to their application was the zoning board.
Correct.
This goes back to the planning board. Don't ask me why, it's just the way it is. Why is that?
The interesting thing about it, though, is a lot of time when decisions are made, not all the information surfaces, okay?
Sure.
And I think the fact that you heard here tonight, and you hear repeatedly, that we have fine boards, both planning and zoning, they'll give it a good look. They'll come back with their recommendations, and I'm sure their comments will be right to the point. So that's the nice thing about it, and I think that should be able to clarify, if anything, and hopefully take it out of the minds of a few, has nothing to do with politics, okay?
Sure, and I'm just asking...
You saw a split up here tonight. You had 2 of one party and 1 of another. I don't know how that had anything at all to do with politics.
No, I personally didn't see that as politics. I just wanted to understand the procedure, to make sure, because I was just listening to everybody's different point of view, it sounded like it was you guys were unanimously making a decision right now. And to my mind, and to the procedure that you guys explained, you're not. You're getting an outside point of view then to come back and make a decision, which to me eliminates the political point of view, and it just makes it an objective point of view. But Mayor, to your point of this kicks the door wide open. I still see this as somebody new to the town. Leaves it open by a case-by-case basis. While people can come to you and say, I would like to make this change, you guys have the absolute right, as you did today, a vote a 3-1, to kick down the line to make a decision about this. So while I respectfully understand where you're coming from, I do see this as you guys are also becoming the safeguards of that decision as well. I trust everybody on this committee, and I trust the fine people and all the different departments that you guys have in place. You're going to review each instance and make a decision based on that. It's not just going to be a blanket yes and no for whatever the benefit of the person coming to the table. So thank you for clarifying the process for me and letting me know that there is some kind of review on another party's point of view before it comes back to you. Thank you guys for everything you're doing, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Mike. And I want to make a comment to your point. The problem is that in the next few years, it might be 5 different people up here. Right. That's why we follow the ordinances. That's why they're there. It's the rules that we play the game by. It's the rules that keep politics from getting involved. So that's my concern. I've seen this happen before. Like I said, it's nothing against the Nevilles. It's just I've seen us do things where we make a decision and we open the door for others. It's not the small mom and pop shops that I'm worried about. It's the guy that comes in here with a team of lawyers and can afford it. And then we're stuck with something we don't want because we said yes to one and they came through Township Committee. How are we saying no to another? It really muddies the waters, and to me it's very concerning. I prefer to follow the rules as the rules are written. But if this is the way it goes, it's the way it goes. We have to deal with every situation that comes up here, that's all. And my decision had nothing to do with politics, and I don't know why politics came up here tonight, but my decision was made because that's the way my mind thinks. Yes, Jenny?
Jenny Ayers, 4812 Green Ash Lane. I believe the reason politics came into this is because of the person that made the offering of this ordinance to begin with. A lot of people know in this town, John, that you're friends with Fred, that you've been on boards with Fred, you served on many boards with Fred, and there have been several times where the conflict of interest perception has come up. We all go through ethics training, and in the ethics law, it says, as a public servant, you're the guardian of public trust for everybody, not an individual. So when things get done for yourself or for somebody else, that perception is gone, the trust is gone, and that trust impacts everybody, not just you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the public who'd like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Carolyn Downs Holton, 76 Chancellor Park Drive. Just to change the tone a little bit.
That's cool.
A sincere thank you. Chancellor Park, we had the problems with the water coming across 32nd Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
The work done with Atlantic City Electric, and they did do some,
Good job. Yep.
seems to have greatly improved.
Okay.
Not only has the water not come across 32nd Avenue, but it seems to have improved the way some of our basins are working. The problem still exists on the other side of the community, and we are continuing to work on that. The Chancellor Park Water Committee is, we're going to try to meet with some people from Rutgers tomorrow and have them come through. They have a program with the New Jersey Environmental there's a lot to do with water management, stormwater issues in New Jersey, and they seem to have a whole department on it. So we're going to see if they have any resources that could help.
Yeah.
It's tough to read some of those engineering reports that you get, and that's been an issue, but we're still working on it. But thank you again. It was a real...
But you're on the water committee there?
Pardon?
You're on one of the committees there?
Yes. It's kind of like an ad hoc, it's like we got tired. But now that the problem's resolved to an extent, the way that works is that people disappear. So we're just trying to stay...
The problem didn't get fixed, it's just resting right
It's
now.
postponed. Yeah, some people are just holding their breath till August.
Did you folks get with an engineer, or are you going to go through the Rutgers people first?
We have, I'm not on the board, and it was just kind of like an ad hoc committee, so we
Right.
could get stuff done. We're going to try to work with Rutgers and see if we can get some information that would be helpful.
That's good.
Because the problem when you get those reports from the engineers about the basins, I know why civil engineering is a degree. You know, you got Darcy's law, you got K equals this, and how you calculate how this stuff works. It's like it's ridiculous. So then when you get these reports, sometimes it's hard to ascertain what really needs to be done. And I'm not sure that some engineers don't just say, you know, I do know scarifying doesn't do very much, but they've done that repeatedly, so.
Right.
But we're keeping on it.
Okay.
Thank you again for all your help.
You're quite welcome. Would anybody else out in the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Rod Green, 2471 Arbor Court. I wore this shirt also to brighten the room up a little bit as well. I just wanted to introduce my business, Ideal Institute of Technology. We are a post-secondary private college. We're currently in Absecon. However, we've taken up quite a number of spaces at the Hamilton Mall. We've been there for 2 years now. We started out with one of our student enterprises, which is a music and video production studio where we're teaching youth how to produce music and video production while providing content to the business community. On May 23rd of this year, we just opened up Ideal VR Lab. It's South Jersey's first virtual reality experience, so we're very excited about that. That's another student enterprise as well. So those youth that are engaged in a business or an IT pathway, essentially they have the opportunity to go into those student enterprises and ultimately gain skills that again, create a pathway into long-term workforce development opportunities. Lastly, we took up also about, I guess it's about a little under 5,000 square feet in between Spencer's and GameStop. And that's where we bring in our corporate offices over, if you will. Have about 20 employees as a whole. We're doing smart classrooms in there. We'll have a tech center in there, so we'll be able to do not only just cell phone computer repair, but a complete print solution. And that's another student enterprise as well. So we had our first graduation this past Friday. And these are youth that are under a grant, actually, from the county, under the Workforce Development Board. We target youth between the ages of 16 and 24, help them get their GED if they haven't quite finished that school process. And if they have finished that process but haven't quite found their aim, we put them in a pathway in business and IT as well. So we're excited about that. And then moving forward, again, just wanted to extend a friendly hand to the community as a whole. I've been in the town for I guess in 2001, I've been here. I taught at Oakcrest for a period of time. Mr. Gashard's, Rodney was there underneath, not necessarily me, but I was teaching during that time. Taught at Duberson, in fact, prior to it going over to the annex where ACIT is now. So, you know, very, very familiar. Was there when, God bless him, Dr. Adam Pfeffer was alive at that time. Chickarillo and Will Bryan, all those great guys. And so been around, but just in the background, working quietly. So again, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. What was the name of your enterprise again?
I'm sorry?
What was the name of your enterprise again?
It's Ideal Institute of Technology.
Anyone else in the public like to speak?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
A motion and a second to close the public portion. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Adjournment is in order.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.